excited. Okay, so my story is quite interesting because I've sat here listening to people and everyone is practicing what they studied in university. But mine is different because I joined med school, and in my second year of med school I realized, do I really want to be a medical practitioner? And that is when I bumped into my passion, which is communication. So I started Admedia communication as a third-year student in university. And by the time I was graduating, we were already doing projects across the country and the East African region. 17 years later now, we are one of the most established communication and PR agencies in Africa, 40 under 40. And this year, I was honored to be in the top 100 influential Africans, young Africans in Accra, Ghana. Why am I here? I was invited thanks to Project Interchange, which I am an alumni of the AJC Project Interchange. So I am here among other fellows. I was in the 2023 cohort. Beside that, I've been through other fellowships, name them Emerging Leaders in Marrakesh, Mandela Washington Fellowship, and just to mention but a few. So today I have to confess that I've been sitting here and cringing at how people are presenting or communicating. And I said, it is for good reason that I'm here. I'll give you a brief background. In food, I've been supporting communication in the food space for so many years. Currently, we are developing the communication strategy for AATF, which is Africa Agriculture Technology Foundation. They are behind the Wema maize that I saw being presented. We have been supporting still in the food category, AGRA. How many of you have been part of the AGRF, or Africa Food System Forum? Yes, there's an agency that supports them in communication, and that has been Admedia. In the energy sector, we support KenGen, which is the biggest renewable energy producer in Sub-Saharan Africa. We do all their com support. We have supported the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority in Kenya in doing energy safety campaigns and driving behavior change among the population. In agriculture, we have supported the Ministry of Agriculture in Kenya through their Agriculture Transformation Office. I remember before the former president left, there was a maize crisis, and they brought a maize subsidy program. And before long, the maize subsidy program got a challenge because people started saying, where is the maize? And there was public uproar. So AGRA contracted us to support them in managing that crisis, where we had to tell the story of how maize goes to the shelf, but people are overbuying. That's why it is not there. So what that led is people were driven to buying only 2 packs at a time to control that shortage. That is the power of communication in the line of your work. So communication basically is supposed to drive impact in what you do. Let me continue. Right now, we've just finished doing a robust website with the support of the USA that has just been shut for the NEMA, which is National Environment Management Authority. We have also been involved in carbon projects in the country. I don't know if any of you are aware of the RESAF, Restore Africa project. And one thing about carbon project is you go to talk to the smallholder farmers, and the first thing you want to mention to them is land. Bring your title to confirm ownership. Do you think they are going to comply with you? You are touching on land, the most sensitive asset. So how do you cultivate their trust for them to trust this carbon project and actually enroll? You have to know and understand the cultural nuances. So we train them and we work with them in co-creating a robust communication strategy that will help you bridge that kind of communication. In 2017, the Agriculture and Food Authority in Kenya contracted us to help them market global tea, Kenya in the global platform, the Kenyan tea. Because the Kenyan tea was going to the UK market, then it is rebranded as made in UK, that's when it could sell. So they were like, we need a sense of pride behind our tea. And we did the Magical Tea Kenya campaign. And up to date, those handles still get direct orders of people who want Kenyan tea. That is the power of communication. You can use it to drive impact of what you do. That is a good introduction, right? I have your attention. Okay, We may please move to the first. So this is just a brief background of Admedia communication. If you are part of the Africa Energy Forum, we were the organizers and supporting the communication in that. If you are part of the Africa Climate Summit, we supported that communication. If you are part in 2014 of the first International Water Association Expo and Gala Dinner in Kenya, we were the ones driving that, supporting Nairobi Water in that. So we've been in the space of food, energy, and water for the longest. Therefore, I have earned my right to stand on this stage. Amen? So, we tell stories, we drive impact. It's not just about showing pictures, but showing the impact of your work. It's not just about writing narratives, it is selling the story of your stakeholders in a way that does not hurt them. We have a presence across the platform, the continent. Currently, we are supporting ECOWAS in the crisis they are having with the Sahel. We have been helping them communicate effectively, because what happened is, before that, ECOWAS would say our forces are on standby, therefore we are going to take action against Niger, and then an uproar and things would get worse. So we had to come to them, develop a crisis comms framework, and told them, if a crisis comes, you set up a crisis communication team. This is how you do your messaging. This is the messaging that you churn out to manage that crisis. We have been in the Horn of Africa. We have a presence and an office in Johannesburg. We have supported all these initiatives that you are seeing and many more that are continuing. So why strategic communication? There are many reasons why you need it. As I said, it gives your work relevance to the common person. When you say that 12% of tomato goes to waste, how can you curate that messaging in a way that will drive policy or instill behavior change to the people who are being affected by that statistic? That is where we come to bridge that. So you can use that in showcasing impact. You use strategic communication in communicating future plans. You want to achieve things. I have heard here people saying policies need to be, policies need to be. Communication exactly pinpoints. There is an opportunity for cold storage facility in Morogoro. Can you drive that into the budget for the next year? And you start agitating and pushing towards that. That way, that statistic is being used to bring an implementation. Then you use it to build and sustain networks. If you don't do this well, and I'm going to highlight on how your communication is hurting your stakeholders, or it's building relationships that are not sustainable because they make them look like dependents on you. You are the hero and they look up to you. You are the savior. Before you they were dying, now you've come, now they are thriving. That is not how you want to do it. You want to build a sustainable relationship. Same to communicating opportunities for collaboration, as I've mentioned, and packaging and presentation. I've seen your presentations. My goodness, there's a lot of comms work to be done. A lot. That's why we are here, right? The thing I love about coming here is I came as a communicator and I'm leaving as a farmer. You have come as scientists. I want you to live as communicators. That's a fair trade-off, right? So, how do you use communication as a tool for action? The first thing is you use it to raise awareness and building knowledge. Remember, your work has to make sense to your stakeholders. What is it that you want them to be aware of? You want to educate the community using it. How do you simplify the lingua in a way that they understand? I can tell you, like what we do in Nairobi, for example, in the Carbon Project, we did not curate the strategy from Nairobi. We had to go to Kilifi. We had to go to Mombasa. We had to go to Taveta and sat with the smallholder farmers and ask them, if we use this word, what does it mean in your culture? Because one word that means something on one side of the same county in Bomet means a different thing on the other side. So you have to know that when you are curating messaging, you involve them in that. So you use it to empower the community. The second thing is science translation. I have done many scientific forums. I'm going to do another one in Cape Town next week with our team at Admedia. We finished another one, Africa Pandemic Sciences Forum in Kenya last month. We did an education forum just last month, Schools 2030. And I can tell you, communicating scientific terminologies to the common person is always a challenge to the academia and also to scientists. Yet, the people who you're doing research on are the ones who need it the most. So how do you bridge that? Then media campaigns. When you do media campaigns, I've seen here that when you say something is struggling, adoption of irrigation in Kenya is only 3%. What is the budgetary allocation towards that? What campaign have you done to push for a bigger communication campaign, a budgetary allocation towards communication campaign to enhance the access and utilization of irrigation in the country? Because that's an opportunity right there. Then promoting behavior change. Many times you find you have new technology, you have new seeds, and there's some barriers to people adopting it. And it is simply because you have not communicated to them. You come with new technology, and the first thing or they see or they hear is GMO, and they have a stigma towards that. If you introduced it as a drought-resilient option and avoid in its entirety the genetic term in your sentencing, then you will drive adoption. So you find there's resistance towards good technology because of the messaging of what you're trying to drive. So as you drive BCC, behavior change communication, through social marketing and cultural farming, you find that you miss an opportunity to scale, to build scale of what you're trying to achieve. Then facilitating stakeholder collaboration. You want your stakeholders to collaborate with you, but your story only elevates you as the hero. Where is their role in your story? Effective communication will make sure that you're giving credit where it is due, and everyone will feel as part of your product and project. Then knowledge sharing platforms, where there are things like this event here. This is a platform for knowledge sharing. I'm learning what Tanzania is doing. I'm seeing what Malawi is doing. I'm learning what Ethiopia, Uganda, all of you are doing, and we are exchanging knowledge. This one here is an effective communication strategy that has been implemented. And that's why we are on the same table signing MOUs, collaboration. Such avenues are just part of what effective communication will do. So you can see how, for example, in this, you summarize many slides just using this infographic. So when you want to talk to the common person on the nexus between food, water, and energy, you can simplify it, and they will understand. They will realize that if you do this, this is what drives this, and this is what drives this, and that is where the nexus is. So you can also use that in influencing policy and investment. There's a lot of investment needed in the fuel space, a lot of it. But for you to be able to drive that, you have to package your messaging right. Finally, crisis communication. I gave you an example of the maize crisis. I can tell you one of the biggest projects I did in our country is the Nairobi Expressway project. And we used to encounter unsurmountable crises. Because what you do, the road has just been launched, a serious accident has taken place, and you need to control that narrative. Otherwise, people will not start using it. They will start saying, Chinese are pouring our blood. So I was always on speed dial. And mine was to get on site before the media, before anyone, to control that narrative. And I guarantee you, for the Kenyans who are here, you don't know. But every time you would go to sleep after an accident, what would be trending is how fast the scene of accident was restored, not how many people were injured. True or false? They were known for how fast the scenes were being restored and operation returned to normalcy. That's the power of effective communication. Because we have to protect our clients. Those who've gotten accidents are our clients. There's no way they're going to be exposed. And the people whom we want to use are our clients. Driving a country that has never paid for roads from zero to paying a lot of money per day to use the same roads to the point that they realize they need it. Right now we are doing over $1 million a day on that expressway. Yet before its adoption, it was not believed. And let me tell you something. We achieved that without a single billboard. We achieved that without a single TV commercial. Everyone knows how to check balance, how to top up their toll points, where to join in, where to exit, without any commercial advertising. That is the power of communication. So, I'll give you some pro tips. And this is the time you'll now do introspection and see what you've been doing vis-a-vis what you should be doing, especially in the continent of Africa, if you want to get buy-in from your stakeholders. Because there are some ways you communicate that hurt and harm your stakeholders. So this is somebody who had come up with a very good infographic called Paul Ekuru, and I would want to share with you some of the messaging so that the next time you see your documentary or the narrative of your success story, you tell them, hey, pause, please change this. The first one is this: portraying people as helpless victims. This one assumes people do not have a voice and need external entity to give it to them, rather than recognizing their existing agency. So you watch a documentary, the first thing is, we give a voice to the voiceless. What if you change that to we amplify the voices of communities advocating for change? Because they have voices. True or false? I promise you, it's going to get harder as I continue downward. And it will change how you drive your comms. I did this, I was training 2 weeks ago, one of the UN agencies, all global leaders in communication, and they had to change how they do their social media updates. And guess what? They changed one, and they came and told me, hey, we've gained 30 new followers by amplifying the voice of a local hero. We've gotten the most likes in that post by implementing what you're telling us. So please, just get your shock absorbers. It's going to get harder, and I'm going to hit it very hard. Then you use rescue narratives, where you reduce the people you are working with to a passive recipient of aid rather than recognizing their agency, contributions, leadership within their community, and it defines them as people who are receiving instead of the impact they're making. This is an example. Meet Ranjita, one of our beneficiaries from Haryana. Now, how about if we change Ranjita is driving sustainable farming solutions in Haryana? Here is how she's leading change. Whom does that elevate? Does it respect Ranjita? I'll give you an example. Please stand up. If I say meet, what's your name? Meet Fauza. She was very poor. She couldn't dress. She used to walk naked. I have come. I have bought her clothes. Now she's dressed and she's gleaming. Now smile. That is how your documentaries are. And we have to change that. We are talking impact storytelling. Then depicting the organization as the savior, where this implies the women lacked power before organization intervened. It assumes power is something given rather than something people already have. So you say our mission is to empower women to become leaders in their communities. No. Our mission is to support the efforts of women leading change in their community. Does that make sense? Because they are leaders. Our mothers are leaders. When your mother speaks, you shut up. A grown-ass man will say, what? Mama! Something happens, they're like, Mama! They will not cry with their father's name. So they have power and authority. We just need to facilitate that. Then centering the organization instead of the community. You've seen that. Credits the organization as the primary driver of progress instead of recognizing the community's role. So in the normal narrative that is donor-oriented, you will say, we built 50 wells for this village. But in an impact story direction, you will say, the community now has 50 wells built through collective effort. Because guess what? They had to provide you land. They had to give you licenses. They had to give you access. They had to accept your project. They surely had a role to play. Give them credit. Then focusing on suffering, the Africa I have seen in the documentaries here, I don't recognize that Africa. Like, it's same to CNN. You're not sure, like, bro, we have Nairobi, skyscrapers, nice cities and all that. Can you imagine? I have been to San Francisco, and in California, we have over 100,000 homeless. That's the whole population of Mbeya. But you will never see somebody say, Americans are suffering and homeless. They will say in San Francisco, in this place, there is a problem of homelessness. So please, move from saying Africa, people are suffering, there's no water in Africa. That area has a name. That area has a name. Say in the village of so and so, there is this community and they do not have this. If you say Africa, you are insulting me, because me, I live in a very bougie place. I have never been there. So immediately it drives me away when I see you're trying to drive an impact story that is tarnishing a whole continent because of a small village. Localize it. Localize it. Are we clear about that? I told you it will get harder. Then using language that suggests dependence, where it frames the nonprofit as the hero and the community as passive recipients rather than active participants in their own progress. Our interventions are saving lives in this village. They have made it to that age without dying. You are not saving lives. They have been alive throughout. These are adults you're talking about. Others are 80. How did they get there? So you say by working together, we are improving access to healthcare. Address your impact story. No sensationalization. And finally, highlighting shortcomings instead of achievements. Focuses on negative statistics rather than recognizing and encouraging progress. Only 25% of youth in this area complete school. What if we say more than 20% of youth are graduating each year and we are supporting that progress? Does it make that does it give you that feel that the community is at least achieving something? So let us make impact storytelling as part and integral part of driving food, energy, and water initiative. Thank you very much.